Hey, it's episode 49 of the DCC. That's right. This week it's chock full this week. Chock full.
Slow news week.
We're going to talk about Toy Story 4. We're going to talk about Star Wars Rebels. We're going to talk about Marvel Rising. Ooh, ominous. There's something about the titles like with the Rising and things like that I want to talk about. And there's some changes with YouTube. And we're going to talk about that and some other stuff on YouTube because, maybe we'll talk about this week on YouTube. And this week I have, by popular demand, there was just email after email. Please, please, please have Shannon on the show instead of Josh. So my homegirl, Shannon, is with us this week. To all who come to this happy place, welcome to the DCC.
Yeah, I was all ready to be on the DCC last week, and then they were just like, no, actually, it's going to be a broadcast. And I was like, fine, I'll just be over here.
Yeah, men.
Yeah.
Men.
I'm just happy that my voice is back, because, for 2 days, right when school started, I sounded like a chain smoker, because I just had, the worst cold, and I'm just like, oh, God.
And if we know anything about Shannon, she's a chain smoker.
Obviously. Can't you tell? I mean, that's what I do.
Next episode's episode 50, and that'll be the 1-year anniversary of the DCC.
It will be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, because, it's a bit of a celebration, but it's also, it was a year ago that we had a big change in the network.
It was a year ago that Dale messaged me in a panic, going, well...
Yeah, we have to make a new show in 3 days.
Yeah, got 3 days, let's go.
The DCC has changed quite a bit, though, hasn't it?
Yeah, I feel like this is the show that, is always changing, because we're always doing new stuff with it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting.
Yeah. Well, first off, thank you for everyone who left comments on YouTube, and who messaged us and everything like that. Really appreciate it. Stoogie, sorry you weren't first on your first comments, but maybe this week you'll be first. Nuldur, thank you so much for your Star Wars comments and all your positivity and saying that we need to have more positive comments, so I appreciate that, and all the likes. And Eric, thank you so much that you like my hat so much you want to pee on it. I really appreciate that. That really means a lot to me.
For those of you who don't know, Dale has been obsessed with our trolls lately. Yes. Yeah. If you couldn't tell from last week.
Yeah. Well, so even on the Rose video, on Angie's Rose video,
yeah, I saw. Yeah.
Here's the thing. I only reply if someone says something racist or sexist. I reply to trolls. Other than that, I ignore trolls. Anybody else who has any other ideas or thoughts, we always reply. And I think people know that kind of by now, that we're pretty good at replying. So yeah, it's a good way to engage with us. But you gotta I think you just have to call people out when they're racist. And yeah, so we all can't get what we want, right, Shannon?
That's absolutely right.
That's absolutely right. But thank you so much for leaving comments. We appreciate it. Also, if you could leave an iTunes review, if you're listening on the podcast and you've been a long-time listener, I got this sweet Instagram message, and that's so nice, and that means a lot. And if you're feeling like you want to reach out to us, do so. You could do it any ways. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, however you want. But also, please leave a review. It helps the podcast grow, helps build our community. Our community on the podcast are growing, and YouTube is growing, and it's so cool. But continuing to leave positive reviews helps us get a good community of people and hopefully keep the trolls at bay. So please do that. That would be awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
How have you been? What have you been up to? School?
What have I been up to?
Yeah.
Oh, Dale. Oh, you sweet summer child.
Nice Game of Thrones reference there.
Well, I mean, the prince that was promised, that is Ben Solo. Oh man, have I fallen down the rabbit hole.
Yeah. You do have a problem. And it's getting uncomfortable.
What? That's uncomfortable. Dale, you don't understand. My life for the past month has just been like, my phone just buzzed. I bet you it was Alex on Twitter. All we do is talk about Ben Solo.
Yeah.
It's very exciting. It's very exciting. Gotta defend my homeboy. I've seen this movie 5 times now. Yeah. It's my life. Can't help it.
Well, it's kind of interesting because I always I always wondered what would Shannon's type be, or does she have a type? And now we know it's mass murderers.
Obviously.
So that's good. Mass murderers with a possible redemption.
Let's be
quality.
honest, Dale. I liked Zuko. I liked Kevin Levin.
I know.
Mako, Danny Phantom.
Yeah. This is actually I'm wearing a Naruto shirt today.
See, I've never watched it, but I know that I'd probably like Sasuke.
You probably like Sasuke. Look at him.
I probably would like Sasuke.
He'll make your heart melt. You'd love
that
him
dark brooding type, man.
Dark brooding type who murders a lot of people. Yes, you would absolutely adore Sasuke.
Obviously. I mean, if it makes you uncomfortable, Dale, then you probably aren't gonna like something that I have in the works. But we won't talk about that now.
It doesn't make me uncomfortable, but I think no. It's just like, it's funny. I was watching your Disney masculinity video, and you've made some really great points, and nothing like a woman to talk about male masculinity, but no, it's cool. It's an interesting perspective. But it was funny because when I was watching it, and you talk about Ben Solo at the end, and it's like, I'm like, Finn is such a much more of a clear example of what you're talking about, but you're just how can I shoehorn Ben Solo conversation?
I mean, you're not wrong.
He's a book reader. It's canon. They mentioned it somewhere in some time that he liked books.
You're not wrong, but I just felt like Finn does kind of fit in that same vein as Kristoff, but like Ben Solo just takes it even farther. Like, you don't understand. And he's the love interest. So.
I don't think he has demonstrated to be more like Kristoff than Finn has. I think Finn
that's what I'm saying. Finn has demonstrated to be more like Kristoff.
But you think he's on another level?
Yeah, then I jumped to Newt Scamander, and then I jumped to Ben Solo.
Yeah, everyone loves patricide,
Obvious, Dale. I mean, if you want to have a big discussion about Kylo Ren's redemption, that's what I'm here for, man.
So actually, someone commented on your video too. I don't know if you read that, about how you and people are abuser apologists. That you are.
Yes, that is a common thing that gets thrown at Reylos, and I actually addressed that in my Reylo video. And it's just, I mean, we can get into it now, but
well, first off, it's fictional, everybody.
It's fictional. Which is another thing that people like to point out. They're like, well, for one, it's a fictional couple, and for two, I think a lot of people ignore the fact of all of the deep-seated emotional trauma and not knowing how to socialize correctly, which isn't necessarily apologizing, but it's also just a facet of a character. So
No, I love it. It's it's cracking me up. It's cracking.
We'll die on that hill for Ben Solo.
Oh man, I just hope that she just rips his face off and like lightsabers his eyeballs, and just your whole dreams.
That would be such a horrible end for Star Wars, though, right?
Sure.
Like, so many people want that, and it's like, what? Like, that does nothing for any of these characters. Like, what? That would be like such a horrible way for this trilogy to end. Like, no hope, literally.
So, Matt Pat, film theorist, has a video out about how he ruined Star Wars: The Last Jedi. And he kind of throws shade on it, being like, oh, like me, this little small YouTuber, could take down like the Disney, corporation and blah, 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 blah. But really, like, at the end of the day, there's probably about 100,000 plus people. Maybe let's ramp it up to 1 million. Let's say 1 million people didn't like The Last Jedi in that like pure hate. Those people who have that pure hate about it. all of his videos have way more views than that. So like he is like, you are directly influencing. Like I'm a part of it. You're a part of it. We set up these expectations by connecting story plots that didn't get connected, and that's part of the disappointment.
Well, that's what it is. Like, and we've talked about it, how in this era where we're always reading into things, we're always theorizing, we're really analyzing, that does kind of set up for you to watch movies in a different way. Like some people call it like the cinema sins, tragedy or something weird. It's like somebody coined a term for it. And it's just like we were watching movies in a different way. Yeah. And that's why it's like you can do all that stuff. Like obviously I theorize, I come up with like headcanons that I like, I have directions that I want things to go in, but you still have to have an open mind, because just because you connected a dot or just because you didn't follow a certain plot point does not mean that it's going to go the way you think it's going to go. I also think it's funny that everybody's like, JJ will save us. And it's like, JJ invented Raylo, guys. Like, he's not saving you.
Well, JJ, too, though, I think does a better job, at least considering the meta. Ooh, Rian Johnson, like, went out of his way to ignore everyone's if anything, he didn't ignore expectations. He took any expectations people had and then would like do the opposite.
Well, but he wasn't doing that specifically to subvert expectations. He was doing things because he wanted to challenge the characters.
Except for he said that he specifically wanted to subvert expectations in one of his like. I mean,
but he was talking about like
all of it. He wanted it to be unexpected.
He didn't do that to like shit on people. He did it because it was I'm not challenging for the characters.
I don't know. His specific reason to make Luke Skywalker the way he is wasn't for the character; it was for the story. And I would say that what the actual problem with that could be is that he sacrificed character development in the ways the characters would develop for the story, as opposed to for how the characters should have developed and changed. I'm not saying that's true. I'm just saying that's how I would perceive it more that way. Like, I think that he disregarded the fandom so much. He even said that, like, George Lucas wasn't thinking about the fans when he was making the movies, obviously. And I think Rian Johnson, in this world, and especially with Star Wars, there has to be some acknowledgement and some understanding of at least how people think of the characters and
oh yeah, see, I completely disagree with that.
But that's what Star Wars now, it may not have always been, but I think that's what Star Wars itself created. I think the Force Awakens itself created this, and then
I get it.
Follow
like
through with it.
That's why people are so upset, right? Because it's like, how could this character that they've grown up with, how could this character that you've loved for so long become this? But I feel like that's kind of the point. It's like I feel like
the Luke Skywalker thing makes a ton of sense. It's like it's actually a very old trope, especially in Japanese storytelling, everybody. So
that was the best direction for that character to go in my opinion. Yeah,
he's the old sensei who's rejecting the. You even saw it in. Doctor Strange. It's an old trope that's been used many times. Again, I don't have a problem with that. I'm just trying to think about what people what those we've made it a million people had issues with, and I think again that
I think that's what it comes down to. But
there wasn't the regard for the plot, the plot devices and the plot that The Force Awakens created.
But people also got so angry at The Force Awakens for paying too much attention to fans, though.
I get it. I understand.
I know. I'm not trying to convince you. I'm just saying
it's impossible to please everybody. But
exactly.
You're right.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's impossible to please everybody unless you're a Raylo.
Jeez. Oh my god. You're gonna be so sad when Ray dies.
I mean, if they die together, it's okay.
So I actually think that the most sense of the one of the most sense that a conclusion would make is that the First Order actually wins and Kylo Ren gets everything he wants and he's still unhappy, right?
Yeah, I think that's kind of where he's at right now.
Well, and also too, Admiral Thrawn, he is only a part of, at that time, the Empire because of the threat from the Outer Rim, and that he's worried about, and he feels the Empire is the best way to defend. Having an army, a large-scale army, is the best way to defend from this threat from the Outer Rim, a la Game of Thrones. So, I think there is an element to that. I don't think it's a coincidence that we're now happening to we're going to be going to the Outer Rim galaxy and part of the galaxy and living in that universe with Rian Johnson. So, we shall see. Thrawn,
I'm excited.
Maybe Thrawn will be alive. Well, Star Wars Rebels will tell us. Speaking of which, let's get right into it. Star Wars Rebels, new trailer. It's been announced that there's a 90-minute series finale. Oh my goodness. Are you watching Rebels?
I am not, but after seeing all of the hype that this trailer has created, I really want to watch it, but it's not on Netflix, so I don't know how to consume this media. I don't know what to do, but I would like to.
They're called torrents, Shannon. But yeah, so I'm super excited. I think it's so cool that they've done this. I'm glad it's ending. I like the show. I think it's good. I do feel I'm losing a bit of interest because I'm kind of done with this era, and I do want to move on to more new era stuff personally. And so I'm excited to see what the new animated series will be. But yeah, I'm excited for this conclusion as well, because there's been a lot of stuff. We've had Ahsoka, Darth Maul, we've had Admiral Thrawn, like a lot of great stuff, a lot of cool stuff that we wouldn't have got otherwise. So I really check it out, and because the series finale it's going to be over, so it's finite, so it's kind of nice to watch a finite series. Yeah.
I like that it seems like the consensus is that it's ending at the right time. Is that what you would say? Yeah,
that's right. Because there's already kind of filler episodes that are not very good, I think.
Well, and a lot of times I think cartoons, especially when they're popular, go on for too long, or like TV shows that just happens anyway, or it's like you probably should have just been smart and ended a long time ago. So I'm glad that they are kind of realizing this. What do you think they're going to do next? 'Cause surely they're going to do another animated series.
Yeah. I think you have to go to this era now. I think you go into the New Order era. I don't know. I guess you could follow some Rebels, or go from the First Order perspective, or I don't know. I don't know what you could do. You could do anything really, but I definitely think it's time to do the current era of Star Wars, have animated series based on that. Marvel Rising, Secret Warriors, super cool. You think it's going to be like Young Justice?
I do.
I can kind of get that vibe for sure. I do love the characters they chose to use: the Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, Gwen Stacy, Captain Marvel. Miss Marvel is actually a very cool character too. Also, she's Muslim, which is very interesting. Crazy diverse, group of women and two guys, and I think that's cool. I like that there's 6-to-2 ratio of women to men.
Yeah. Well, for those of you guys who don't know what we're talking about, Marvel is going to be releasing this new animated thing. It's going to be like a movie, like a little made-for-TV movie, but then they're also going to do 6 4-minute digital shorts focusing on these characters. It's kind of like a coming-of-age story. I would say that it's very similar to Young Justice, where it's kind of focusing on sidekick-esque characters. I'm not quite sure what kind of stories they're going to tell, but I think it looks really cool. Like they're talking about just the difference between heroes and misfits and a ragtag team, and I don't know.
Like Unbeatable Squirrel Girl's legit. She can't be beaten, right? Like, you know, she may not win, but she can't be beaten, and that's a really cool thing about her. And Patriot, and it's kind of weird. Like you're getting like the like I don't know. It's just really cool. They're really interesting characters. Gwen Stacy, Ghost Spider, but she used to be Spider Gwen.
Yeah,
is such a cool character, and they've got a really good voice cast and people like part of the Marvel universe and all that.
Oh
stuff.
yeah, they've got a really good voice cast. I was looking through there because it's got somebody from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., right?
Mm-hmm. So Toy Story 4 has a new writer, as we know. Rashida Jones left because she thought that Pixar was not a good space for women and minorities, and then, you know, John Lasseter and all that stuff came out, and it's all kind of at the same time and all for the same reason. So they replaced Rashida Jones with Stephanie Folsom, who worked on Thor Ragnarok, but she actually didn't get a writing credit for it because of some weird bylaw in the guild. And but yeah, she actually was a story writer for Thor Ragnarok, so she's coming in for Toy Story 4. It's interesting that they replaced Rashida Jones with another female writer. It tells me that Toy Story 4 is trying to probably be very focused on probably Bo Peep. And
You think so?
Well, I think the story is going. Yeah, right. The story is about Woody trying to find Bo Peep because it was weird that he's like that's the only toy that he's not tried to save.
Right. Yeah.
But I think you're going to get a lot from her perspective too, right? Like I think like that'll be the A or B storyline potentially, right?
I certainly hope so because I do feel like Pixar, which we've talked about, is a little bit lacking when it comes to the female perspective, and I feel like in a story where Woody's looking, well, I mean, but that's, well, when in a story that's about like Woody and Bo Peep trying to find each other, that's a little bit more, I don't want to really say romantic because it's still like a Pixar movie, but it's interesting that we're going to get a female perspective from that.
It seems like we are, right? Like, I just, that points to it. And unless we've actually entered an era where someone was just hired because they're the best writer for it, which I don't think we're quite there yet. I
mean, it's important to have female writers, though. I do know what you're saying.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'm not against it. And I think it's important to have female writers write when we want to tell stories about women. Like, I think it's weird that men write stories about women all the time because then men are controlling. I completely
agree with you.
Men are controlling the narrative of women. But yeah, you know, so it's cool. I'm excited about this. I really like Thor Ragnarok. So, and especially the story elements of Thor Ragnarok. So I'm excited for this. I think Toy Story 4 is something to look forward to, especially in this, like, when you look at, like, the next Pixar, like, I'm not really, like, that stoked for Incredibles 2, or, like, but, you know, and I'm not really that excited for Toy Story 4. Like, I wish 2 new movies were coming out. That's
true, yeah, especially because Coco was so good. It was so good.
Like, yeah, like, they keep doing original stories so well, and their sequels keep not being great other than Toy Story.
Yeah, but and it's like, even then, it's like the Toy Story ones were so good, but like it ended so perfectly, and it's like, why are we getting another one? And like,
even though Bo Peep is weird, right? Like, I do think it's like that's the only legit story they could have told.
Yeah, which I'm glad that they're going in that kind of direction because it's a little bit different than what they've been doing. And like you said too, like, I'm not super stoked for Incredibles. Mostly I'm just stoked over the fact that, like, the animation is insane. Yeah. Like, you could see the fuzz on his shirt, like, that's crazy. But at the same time, it's like they just keep pushing the envelope with their original stories, and they're so well done and they're so good that it's like we want that stuff. Like, it's, you know, sequels are always going to make money. They're always going to get those nostalgia points, but
yeah, like, and bringing Brad Bird back into the fold is not a problem at all. I love Brad Bird. It's just, yeah, I wanted an Incredibles sequel like 10 years ago.
Yeah, right. It's like we wanted it a really long time ago, and I was hoping for a time jump, which we're not getting. So I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's even the other thing. It's like 10 years ago, and then it's like, but it's just like 2 seconds ago. Yeah, I don't know.
Right?
It's
Yeah.
kind of weird, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we just got to be like just as invested, and you know, I'm not as invested into Incredibles as I once was. Like, then like that just happens over time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, for sure. And I mean, I think I felt the same way when like Finding Dory was coming out, where it was just like, it was exciting that we were getting this story, but at the same time, it had been so long and it just wasn't, you know, wasn't Inside Out.
Well, and at the end of the day, like, you know, Finding Nemo ended, and I was like, oh, good, she has a family and they're happy together. And then the end
right. So it's like we didn't really have a question of
and the end of Finding Dory is she has a family and they're happy together. It's like,
yeah.
So we're back to where we thought we were.
I'm still in the camp where I really wish Dory's parents had been dead at the end of that movie. And I feel like a horrible person for it, but I'm like, it just would have made, it would have done so much more for her character if she had like gotten to the point where like all the seashells were leading there and just like no one was there.
Yeah, just
like it just would have been so much more emotional.
Just to reaffirm the fact that, well, again, the seashells couldn't be there if the people weren't continuing to clean it.
Well, no, like they could have been like putting them there and then eventually left, or they had died, and that would have been the end of it. It's, you know, but she could have still been led there.
But remember, the part of the story was that is they had to keep cleaning up the pathways because
that's true.
The shells.
Yeah, but either way, like that, it just would have been so emotional if like they weren't.
No, I agree. And it would have reaffirmed that she already had a family and she didn't need to. Yeah.
Or she could have been like all the way there, and like Marlin and Nemo could have been there like looking for her, and that just would have been like cinematic poetry, but whatever.
Yeah, because kind of in the end of the story, the message is like your adopted family still isn't good enough.
Yeah, kind of. It's like, well, you know, those people aren't your blood.
Yeah, exactly. Super, yeah, right. So good thing they made that movie. Good thing they made that.
Oh, yeah. But anyway.
Shannon, can you please tell me what's happening on This Week on YouTube?
Yeah, so before we get into the craziness that's always happening on YouTube, I've wanted to recommend this channel to you guys for a really long time, and that's called ScreenPrism. So back when I went insane and watched all of Game of Thrones, I found this channel because they make videos going through all of the symbolism of the houses, and like they make lots of videos just like telling you like histories and just like little things. Like they're not exactly theories, but it's just like little stuff that kind of you wouldn't think about unless maybe you'd read the books or whatever. And I was obsessed with watching all of these videos, and they're still like, they're so good, and they make videos about everything. They've got stuff for Aladdin. They just had a video that came out about Coco, like any kind of pop culture stuff. They're really thought-provoking, and they're just really, I don't know, they bring up so many good points. So I highly recommend you guys go and check out that channel.
Totally.
But
Rhaegar Targaryen one is good and stuff.
Oh yeah,
because Rhaegar's probably the most important character that we never see.
Oh yeah, well, and I love the one about the Starks, because it talks about how all of the direwolf puppies like are important to like what happens to the characters, and I'm like, oh my god.
Yep.
Just like gives you those feels.
Yeah, they're representations of the characters themselves and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so cool. The interesting thing about Game of Thrones, and someone pointed it out, is that it's a fantasy story based off of history, not based off of mythology. And I think that's so cool.
Oh yeah, I think it's really cool. I really think that Game of Thrones is so unique in a way, and it's just so well done. I'm sad to see it go, but at the same time, like, I am glad that it's ending, because you don't want it to go on forever.
Well, it's not going to end.
Well, they're getting prequels. I know that.
And we'll probably find out. I hope what I want is to see the fall of Valyria. That's my big one, because it's so far in the past that you remove that prequel problem.
That's true. Yeah, because I know a lot of people want it to be like the war, like right before, like young Ned Stark and that kind of stuff.
That's the worst.
I don't want that either.
The worst. Like that would be my nightmare, because I would still have to watch it. And guess what happens? Rob and Ned win the war. We know this.
It's true. Yeah.
Like the whole point of Game of Thrones is to know what happens after the hero dies, and, right? Like that. So like you undo the whole point of Game of Thrones when you do stupid stuff like that. You either do Dunk and Egg, which is the Hedge Knight, and or you do The Fall of Valyria.
Yeah, I think that'll be cool. That's what I kind of want to just go like way far back, because there's so much history that you can uncover with Game of Thrones. But moving on to something that's like not as fun, YouTube has changed everything again. So everybody is super angry with YouTube. Yet again, they're changing their benchmarks for what you can do to get monetized. So originally your channel had to hit 10,000 lifetime views, and then you could submit it for review to get monetization on your channel. Now you have to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of views total, which is completely wrecked a whole bunch of little channels. And basically their response was, well, you don't make enough money to really care about it anyway, which is the wrong response to have. Like, oh man.
Yeah, you know, YouTube, like, no, like we're not paying YouTube to use their service at all, and you know, they're storing all our videos and our data and everything. So if they feel like the threshold was too low to monetize stuff, I think that's fair. Yeah.
Originally, I thought it was. I thought they were setting weird goal,
and I thought we were going to be impacted by it, because I'm
never
like, oh, we're such a big YouTube channel, but we're actually in the top like 50%.
Yeah, so like that was like, when I found out about that, I'm like, oh, like, well, if we're not even affected, like that's pretty good, because it is to like hit those channels that get viral really quickly and that are just like toxic channels that aren't community building or like that kind of stuff. Yeah. So we'll see if it does work. I know it's actually kind of ironic, because I had just submitted my side channel for review, and then this happened, and I'm like, well, fine.
Which you're starting to get a lot of subscribers on that now.
I am, yeah. I jumped 100 subscribers in like 2 months. I've had this channel for like 3 years, guys. Yeah. And the fact that I saw that much growth in like 2 months was like insanity to me.
Are you starting to use the tag techniques that we've started to use for Network 1901?
Oh yeah, anything I use for Network 1901, I start throwing over there. So
oh, cool. So yeah, if you could just send us like 50% of the profits, I'd appreciate it.
I mean, I can't submit that channel for review now, so.
I know. You really screwed us over on that one, YouTube. Thanks a lot. Yeah, we can't make Shannon's second channel.
So much more money.
I'm still waiting for my Seder. If anyone's like, what, Shannon has another YouTube channel? She talks about books, though. Who likes reading? Yeah. Well, actually, it doesn't matter. You don't have to read, because she tells you what it is.
Well, I mean, no spoilers, but actually somebody did say, they were like, I feel like you spoiled this book. And I'm like, well, I mean, I have to still talk about like sort of what happens, but I don't tell you how it is.
That's true. It's still, I can't remember. Oh yeah, Mandy. She like full on spoiled something for me. And she was like, what? Like, what's the big deal? I'm like, you know, I care about that stuff. She's like, get over it. I'm like, okay.
I don't know. My thing with everything is like, tell you just enough so that you know what it is going into it, but you're intrigued enough to where you will actually still read it, you know? Unless I hated the book and you value my opinion. Then you will read it.
Yeah. You know, we've got, you know, good views on the DCC. That was really nice. Josh has that Sesame Street video as well. We've got Black Widow movie. Also, if you are not listening to the Disney Decade, you need to. If you like anything about Disney and you just want to know how did Disney get to where it is now? The Disney Decade is a huge part of that, and it's so interesting. And also it's kind of made me think that maybe the Disney Renaissance label kind of actually expands too far and should be marked when Katzenberg left, but that's a debate for another time, because people get mad at me when I try to tell them that Bolt is actually included in the Disney revival era.
Blasphemy.
But yeah, it's not true because I don't like that movie. Doesn't matter. John Lasseter was a part of it, and he is the mark for the revival. Like, I don't. Like, people sound like as if I made up the fact that John Lasseter himself. Like, hello. Yeah. Anyways, people are like, like, it's so funny.
I mean, by that logic, you should definitely include Great Mouse Detective in the Renaissance, probably.
Yeah.
But you don't.
Yeah, exactly. Well, but also, I would say that Bluth marks that departure from the Bronze Era to the. But it's so funny too. Like, just like. It's okay, like, yeah, it's cool. If you, like, people like, the wartime era is the best, man. And I'm like, that's cool that you like the wartime era. Good for you. I am endlessly bored by those. Or, like, it's like, sometimes I wonder, too, if people actually even like Disney. Because they'll be like, the golden era, it's never been better than the golden era. And it's like, oh.
It's like,
Well, so, like, do you not like all the other movies then? Like, I don't really understand how the first movies, like, because, like, I don't know. Snow White's not the best one. I'm sorry. It just isn't.
No. Well, and I would say most people that say that they like Disney are referring to revival and Renaissance. And when you're not, I'm like, you probably don't like Disney then.
And but there's actually not as many Silver Era supporters that I thought there would be, because to me,
I love Silver Era
is, like, I think beautiful. I think it's
one of my favorites.
It feels so Disney, but actually Robin Hood was very low, like, it has like very low critic scores and didn't do very well, which is weird because Robin Hood, like, for me growing up, I just loved that movie. I didn't know that
Robin Hood was one of the contributing factors for Disney starting to, like, go down that path of, like, oh no, we're running out of money.
Yeah, I know, it's so weird. But yeah, so the YouTube channel's doing well and everything. Well, it's growing. So again, continue to help us by just liking stuff, commenting, by sharing with a friend, leaving a review. All those things go so far for us, and it means so much. This has been episode 49 of the DCC. Our 1-year anniversary is next episode. It'll be, I think, me and my homegirl Shannon, hopefully, because I know just, like, the popular demand is just overwhelming for Shannon and I to do this show together.
It's like, again, it always comes down to Dale. I specifically ask off work on Saturdays, so.
I know. We should just kick Josh off the show. And people defend him too.
I love Josh.
Someone was like, Dale almost went the whole show without making fun of Josh. It's like, he makes fun of me too. We all make fun of each other.
But he's the sad face emoji. We love
exactly.
Josh.
Yeah. Josh just doesn't. It doesn't seem like Josh is making fun of me as much because he just sometimes just stares back at me when I ask him a question during a taping of a show. So
you can't not love Eeyore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love Eeyore. Eeyore is my favorite character. So that's why Josh and I get along so well, because he likes Tigger.
There you go.
I'm Tigger. Then
in case you missed that. Yeah.
What would you say? Would you probably be like Winnie the Pooh or Piglet? Maybe Rabbit. Maybe you're Rabbit. God. You're a little tightly wound.
Are you saying that I like Rabbit or that I am Rabbit?
No, yeah. Who do you embody the most? Right, like Josh clearly.
Oh, probably Rabbit.
I probably embody Tigger the most.
Yeah, I'm probably a mixture of Rabbit and Piglet, probably.
Rabbit and Piglet. Yeah, so you're like worried and tense.
Yeah, that's literally my state all the time.
Yeah, it's funny too. I would say that Mandy is also. Probably just Piglet, though. She's not so good.
Just Piglet.
She
doesn't have that cynical outlook on life.
She's starting to get it. I don't know where she's getting it from.
I would like to see some fan art, people. Let's go.
Yeah, of drawing which Winnie the Pooh. Or tell us which Winnie the Pooh character you think we are. Because I think any group of friends can be summed up into Winnie the Pooh characters.
Yeah, just like Hogwarts houses, too. But we don't have a Gryffindor, so...
yeah, we don't... Well, you know what? I remember I said that I was brave enough to ask to be in Gryffindor. Now
it's true.
I'm brave enough now to ask to be in Gryffindor. That's all you have to do. You just have to ask.
It's true. You do have to ask. I wouldn't ask because I don't want to be in Gryffindor. I'm very happy with mine.
Yeah. Well, I just also too, like, I'm just even thinking about it, like, if I'm Slytherin, it's probably going to be hard to date. Probably have to date like other Slytherins. Like, no thanks.
Or you could just be me, and it's not a problem.
That doesn't really work for me. I'm a bit of a serial dater. Yeah. Well, okay. Well, this has been episode 49 of the DCC. Thank you for joining us. We love you, and I will see you in a galaxy far, far away. Bye, double hand wave.
Bye. It's like, extra poll. Who's your favorite Network 1901er? Let's see everybody fight. I'm just kidding. Don't do that.
No, we don't want everyone to just start voting for Shannon. It'll just make Josh and I feel bad. We don't need to ask when we already know.